honor it is to bring in a cat who's been swinging on the bandstand for the last half century in a myriad of different forms. He's been through a lot of adversity in his life and his career, but he has always tried to stay on the righteous path, doing it through music, communal music, being able to heal people. And I really believe that in this time that we're in, one of the only things that can save civilization is rhythm. So my guest's responsibilities have gone even higher. Artimus Pyle, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey Jay, how are you?
It's so great to talk to you, man. I wanted to ask you, this doesn't get a lot of publicity, but I just wanted you to talk to the audience about if you ever saw Elvin Jones play live before.
Unfortunately, I did not see Elvin play. I love Elvin Jones because I am a jazz guy.
I know you are.
I'm known as the Southern rock drummer, but I'm a jazz guy, and I like Weather Report and Herbie Hancock. But no, I love Elvin, and I love his style. And sometimes when I'm just practicing by myself, I'll go into a little Elvin Jones mode.
Well, no, so what I want to talk about this idea of Thickwood Lick in '67. Did you do any kind of touring circuit? I mean, you had Butch Trucks in the psychedelic dungeons of North Florida. Petty was burgeoning, but '67. I mean, I got to believe Artimus was. I mean, you were fully ensconced in Max Roach, whether or not you were playing jazz. Can you just talk about some of the tours that this band, Thickwood Lick, did?
Okay, that's really easy. None. Zero.
So I mean, but that is the greatest name of a band. So why does it even get any publicity? It was just the first kind of professional gig. Was it even a professional gig?
Okay, so first of all, can I ask you, where are you?
I'm from Long Island, but I live in Tucson.
You're in Tucson now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's beautiful out there. And plus we're playing Long Island coming up. We have some shows on Long Island at the Patchogue Theater.
I saw that. I saw that coming up. I got my folks to go.
And I love Long Island. I love going out there. So yeah, I've been to Tucson many times. So here's the deal with Thickwood Lick. That was just a little band. When I got out of the Marines, I went to Martha's Vineyard and lived on Martha's Vineyard for a summer and had my band. And then I moved down to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and we lived in an old flower shop, my wife and son and I.
Oh my!
And that was Spartanburg, South Carolina. We called it Sparkle City. And so some of the guys that I jammed with that were, Marshall Tucker was from there, and there was a lot of Southern rock, bands that people, playing the like Marshall Tucker. Of course, they were kind of a country rock jazz band. I loved them. Paul Riddle, a very good friend of mine. I talked to Paul recently.
Man.
Unbelievable drummer. And so there was a lot of cats in the area that were playing music. And so I got together with a few of them and we tried our hand at, writing some songs and, and everything. We had a few covers that we were playing, but we had to come up with a name one day. I remember.
Oh my God.
And it was, I honestly think it was me.
You named the band. Yeah, totally.
Talking about licks, like drum licks.
Sure.
And drumsticks are made of wood. And so Thickwood Lick, and the guy said, "Oh, okay, that's cool." But we never, I don't even think we ever had a gig. I mean, we just rehearsed in some guy's basement. And one guy named Taylor, and I run into him, he comes out to shows sometimes and says, "Hey man, remember me?" And I said, like, of course, all my bands, but the band that I went to Martha's Vineyard with, we were called Next Voice.
Whoa.
And Next Voice was one of the best bands I've ever been in. And we did Jimi Hendrix covers and Jethro Tull and weird stuff. And I was the only white guy in the band.
Wow.
It was
Wow. There's a bunch of
all
brothers.
African
Wow.
American players, and Bobby Miles, Tim Ingalls, we called him Tingles, um, and John Bursler. He was a redhead. He was a white guy, but we were an amazing band. My brother-in-law, who was an African American gentleman named James Solomon Lewis, he played soprano, saxophone, keyboards, and percussion, and he was an amazing guy. And he lived actually in Tucson. James Solomon Lewis, he's passed away now. But we had a hell of a band, and we called it Next Voice, and we took it up to Martha's Vineyard and lived there for 3-4 months, and then went into New York City at 729 East Broadway on the 9th floor, Dick Charles Studios, and recorded 21 songs. All original stuff, and I've still got a few of those songs.
Whoa, wait. But this never got pressed on vinyl or anything.
No. It never. I have CDs of it because I had a friend of mine up in Winston-Salem put it to CD, but it was some of the best stuff I've ever played on it, and it was absolutely the first time I was ever in the studio. And my son, my oldest son, I have 3 sons. My oldest son, Chris, heard it, and he goes, "Wow, Dad, you're playing like Billy Cobham,"
Oh my, dude, this is Artimus. The reason I'm going after this sort of this earlier time is because I'm fascinated. I really want you to talk about the idea of, I mean, it's like, Charlie Daniels, Volunteer Jam, you wound up playing congas on it. This is before Skynyrd, but in that early 70s period, were you doing jingles or Suds and Duds commercials? I'm just trying to figure out if you were a recognized name if there was a studio scene down in Spartanburg at all, or was it just
absolutely not, Jay, nobody knew who. I mean, I had no name whatsoever.
I know, this is crazy. So I'm like, so explain the cosmic way of how you connected with this legendary group.
Well, when I got back from Martha's Vineyard, the Next Voice kind of had to break up because I went to South Carolina and all the guys went back to Ohio. My dad was a builder, an architect, and we followed the building boom north in the 60s and 50s and 60s, and we got as far as Columbus, Ohio. And so all my band, I was going to Ohio State University, and I had gone to Tennessee University in Cookeville, Tennessee. But I'm an idiot. I don't make good grades. I can't study. I have ADHD.
No, you're a street scholar. Come on, give me a break. You're not in the academy, dude.
Well, I'm not let's say a good academic student. But I tried it again at Ohio State. We put the band together, Next Voice. We ended up going to Martha's Vineyard. My wife and son moved back to South Carolina at the end of the summer in 73. Wow. I moved back to South Carolina, and my band went back to Ohio. And I was sad because we were such a great band. And so when I went back to Spartanburg, my wife had gone to high school with Doug Gray, Toy Caldwell, and Tommy Caldwell.
Wow.
The bass player and the brother, Toy, guitar player for Marshall Tucker, and of course, Doug Gray, the lead singer. And so Patricia, my wife, who was in the movie that we did, APB did this soundtrack for the movie we did about the plane crash that we released during pandemic, and we had a lot of participants on the soundtrack, and it was beautiful soundtrack. But you release a movie and a soundtrack during pandemic, we got passed over. And so I'm not going to complain because the whole world was suffering.
Oh, so,
yeah. But anyway, we, the band APB, did record on that soundtrack. But being, what happened was that Toy Caldwell and Tommy, especially Tommy, who was a bass player, invited me over to jam at his house. And he had a real nice set of drums set up, and he was a monster bass player. Man, the guy was one of the best bass players. He was killed in a car wreck in Spartanburg.
Oh, geez.
A freak accident. And that was Tommy Caldwell. And my real name is Tommy. My mother called me Tommy. I'm Thomas, but Artimus is a nickname I got at Tennessee University because of Greek mythology. But anyway,
wow.
Toy was in the Marines when I was in the Marines in boot camp, and they kidded me because my last name's Pyle, and they called me Gomer. And this was 1967. All right, 67, they were calling me Gomer, and every day I had to go up before 400 men and yell, golly, Shazam, surprise, 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 everything. And then I heard about Toy because he was a real big dude. He was like 6'3", but his name was Toy, and that was his real name.
Wow.
And so they kidded him being a huge Marine called Toy, and then Gomer Pyle. So we heard about each other, and then eventually met each other in Spartanburg. It's just a small world. And so Marshall Tucker invited me to come to a gig at Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. And it was the Allman Brothers and Marshall Tucker and Wet Willie and Lynard Skynyrd. And I met the whole Skynyrd band that night. And it
was like 73 kind of range.
73.
Yeah.
And Bob was having medical issues, man. He was having some severe medical problems. And so Ronnie had mentioned to the Marshall Tucker guys and Charlie Daniels, because I played congas, as you said, on that first volunteer jam. And so, Charlie Daniels offered me a job. He had 2 drummers, and the one drummer, Hoss Allen, he quit right in the middle of the tour. So they were looking to replace because they had 2 drummers.
Right.
It was Freddie, the blonde hair guy, Freddie, and then me. But Hoss Allen came to his senses and realized that he was in a band that was going places and had a good job.
Wait, was it 2 trap sets or percussionist and drummer?
No, 2 full sets.
For Charlie Daniels. That is insane.
Charlie Daniels.
That is in. So I want, but with
Bob, Charlie, he brought in Hoss Allen, and he brought Hoss Allen back. But he said, this is Charlie to me at a Mardi Gras in New Orleans, where I met Charlie to audition. He said, Artimus, you're good. I'm good. I know a band that's looking for a drummer. And he said, Lynard Skynyrd. And I said, Lynard Skynyrd. He said, yeah. And I said, do they work hard? He says, I believe they do. And I found out that they work harder than any band I've ever known. So that's how the Charlie Daniels, Marshall Tucker connection and me, and nobody knew who I was. I wasn't a session drummer. I had done that session up in New York City at Dick Charles Studios for my own band, playing on about 10 other songs for a guy that owned 2 houses on Martha's Vineyard, and we played all the clubs on Martha's Vineyard. And James Taylor lived there. Carly Simon lived there.
Sure.
A whole bunch of rock stars, lived on this island.
I want to be, when looking back on it, even with Toy, sort of those jam sessions in South Carolina. I mean, I have to believe, because there's not a ton of great live recordings of Skynyrd on the internet to hear. Did you incorporate like feathering the bass drum a lot? I mean, did they like the fact that the music felt like with Artimus that you were sort of lifting everybody off the ground?
Well, here's the thing. Bob Burns was brilliant in the studio because that was Al Cooper.
Right.
And Al got Bob a warm and fuzzy sound. That all that stuff unpronounced and a second helping, that the engineers and the producers got Bob a really nice sound. And Bob was under pressure from everybody in the band because Billy Powell and Leon and Gary Rossington and Ronnie, but more Billy, Gary, Alan, and Leon. They had a habit of trying to tell the drummer what to play, right? Not so much Ronnie. Now, with Bob, they drove the poor guy crazy, saying, now don't forget to put this here and all their ideas. But when I came into the band, not being a session drummer, I made a deal with Ronnie. I said, look, I'll write my own parts to these songs. And if they suck, we'll change them. but I said, you sing the vocals, Billy, you play the keyboards, and I'll accept ideas. I mean, I'm not closed door, closed-minded. I'll accept all ideas, but I don't want for the band to stop us in the middle of a song because I didn't put one of their parts in the song. 5 different guys going, put this in, put this in. So I made a deal with Ronnie, and he was the head guy. Ronnie was the leader of that band, the undisputed leader of the band. It was his vision. So, Ronnie, I said, Ronnie, I'll make you a deal. If my parts suck, we'll change them until they don't. But, I didn't get much much. There was a few things. Hey, Artimus, can you do this? And I'd say, yeah, I can do that. I can put a cowbell right there. Be glad to. But if it sounds good, and it did some of the things. Recently, I recorded with my band APB.
Yeah.
Scott and Jerry and Brad and Dave, and we went in the studio to record a song for the movie soundtrack Street Survivor about the plane crash. And I told them, I said, look, you guys, we were in the studio 15 hours up in Winston-Salem. And I said, if anybody, including the road crew, we have the coolest road crew. Every one of them are musicians and play just as good as us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're technically savvy and everything is cool. So we went in the studio in Winston-Salem and I said, you guys tell me if you hear something that I can do, because if I'm able to execute it, let's make this. And then I channeled John Bonham. And so I took all of the parts that everybody said, hey, try this, try that, try this, like 6 different parts. And I executed them. And now it's one of the most fun songs I get to play with the band, because I love playing the Skynyrd stuff because there's no 2 songs the same. The drum parts are all a challenge. But this new song that we wrote on the soundtrack, Street Survivor, I would put it up against any rock and roll Southern rock song that's out there. Wow. The vocals are incredible. The guitar harmonies are incredible. The vocal harmonies are incredible. My drum part is incredible because I took all these ideas and then channeled John Bonham, man, and got this big fat drum sound. And I love it. I love it when it comes to that part because we play a Skynyrd set, but we incorporate songs that we like that we wrote, which right now the number is 1. It's going to go up, but so yeah, man. The whole thing of just coming out of nowhere and going into the studio with Al Cooper on Nothing Fancy, I wasn't satisfied with the drum sound that they got me on Nothing Fancy. It was thin, except for Saturday Night Special, which was my first song with the band, which went into the Burt Reynolds movie, The Longest Yard.
Oh my God.
Right?
Artimus, I mean, it is such an honor. I have to ask you about something that really blew my mind when I was prepping for this. And did you meet any of the cats from from a diaspora yeshiva band in the States, and that's how you got hip to going there. The one quote that I remember hearing you say after you survived the plane crash is that you went to Israel to become a better person. But I was like, did you meet any of the cats in that band stateside before you decided to go there?
No, the connection was when I was going to Ohio State University. I bought some weed from a guy.
Yeah.
And that guy lived off campus, and his name was Ron Davis, and he was from Shaker Heights, Cleveland. He was from Cleveland, the Shaker
Absolutely.
Heights area.
Absolutely. Yep.
His father was a very, I believe, a surgeon. But anyway, Ron Davis, I was in a band while I was going to Ohio State called JJ and Ollie. And there was a young woman that sang, and her name was Jane Everett. And I introduced Ron Davis to Jane Everett. They got married, moved to Israel, and had 14 children.
Dude, that's who it was. Okay. On some like hippie commune out there or something?
No, it was a you know what a yeshuv, when you go the places where they farm, all
Right.
of the kibbutz.
Yes, the kibbutz, right.
They lived on a kibbutz and worked the fields, and Jane had her first child shearing sheep. She was shearing sheep, and Yeshua, Ron, was in the field, and he came in, and she had the baby, and they took care of the baby and got everything taken care of, and she went right back to work shearing sheep.
Oh my gosh. She's
a chemistry major from Ohio State University, and I introduced them to each other, and they fell in love. She's amazing. And her name, now they've been going by for all these years, Yoshua, which is his name, Yoshua and Yael ben Yehuda. And
exactly.
all of their children are like godchildren to me. And they're fighting in the Israeli, 3 of them are fighting in the Israeli army right now, which is unfortunate for everybody. I'm afraid for the Palestinian women and children. I'm afraid for the Israelis. I'm afraid for the Jewish people. I'm afraid for the Muslims. It's just a horrible. I'd like to go there right now. I'd like to get on a plane and go there right now. Because what I worked on over there was trying to bring world peace through music.
I know, dude. I can feel it. I think it was one of the. Did you even consider? So you reached out to them, and they said, "Why don't you come down?" Is that what happened? Basically, I'm just curious about. I cannot imagine. Setting aside the insanity of the crash itself, I can't imagine going from the heights of success in the music racket to then questioning everything about life. I mean, did you feel like that was that saved your life in some way, just being able to go there and sort of continue to try to bring world peace through music?
Well, music saved my life. Being the drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd, being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that all saved my life. Music saves my life. But Jay, what I have to say is I have a very few minutes, and I've got all these Zooms.
I know. Listen, I was going to say maybe I can.
Let me just say this, please.
Yeah.
What you've got my telephone number, right?
I don't have your number, no.
Okay, take my number.
All right.
And I can talk privately with you sometime. You can text me.
That'd be great.
Yeah, don't do emails. I don't have a computer. I've never downloaded anything. And we can continue this conversation. It's interesting. Just, please know that we've got this great new album called Anthems. We're very proud. It's been hard getting it done, but we're on there with Dolly Parton. We're continuing the music. We're writing new music. We're certainly not letting grass grow under us. And, we always keep our eyes to the next project. So thank you.
Yo,
for
Artimus, much love. Yo, man, much love to you, man. Go do your thing. We'll be in touch, man. It was an honor to talk to you.
All right. I love Tucson, Arizona. I love it.
We need to get you. We need to get the band down here.
Get us out there. Get us a gig. We love doing stuff. We have bus will travel. All right, Jay. We'll see you, buddy.
Be cool, man. Talk to you soon.
Call me.
Bye later. Bye.